Does anybody know anybody that ever went from bad to good or good to bad, but really bad to good, if anything? Anybody know anybody like that? Scholar, you know somebody like that? I couldn't, every time I wanted to think of someone to like put up here, I couldn't think. I was like, oh, they kind of bad still. I can't really use them. They still kind of act a fool. But there was a show I grew up watching, and I still watch it. It's like on Hulu or something. Anybody ever heard of the show called Beyond Scared Straight? Okay, so y'all heard about that. All right, this show right here, me and my family used to watch this show all the time. It's a show about some kids. Basically, those kids, you ever seen that video that guy was like, cause I want to do hood rat things with my hood rat friends. Like, it's basically like one of those shows. So they take a group of kids who are not very so well, as in some of them steal their parents' cars. They like to fight in school and they like to do this and that. And growing up, my mom and them used to always threaten me. I guess I was bad in their eyes. I thought I was pretty good. They were like, you keep acting like that, we're going to send you right up here. They got one right up here in Fulton County, Atlanta. We're going to send you right on up there. Keep acting like that. So I kept acting like that, and I was like, they ain't going to send me. She ain't crazy. She already know how I get down. I'm a thug. I do this all day, every day. So they wound up sending me there. And when they sent me there, I was like, they ain't going to touch me. I said, these prisoners don't know who they get. I mean, look at these cellmates, man. I got this. They ain't going to put their hands on me. I said, they locked up. They can't do anything to me. Sure enough, the guard was like, open up the cells real quick. So this is when I was about 8 or 9. And they got my face. They're like, you like disrespecting your mama, boy? You like disrespecting your mama? I was like, no, sir. So here's a picture of me right here when I got, So there's a picture of me right there. And I was like, no, sir. I was like, I don't want to do wrong anymore. I'm going to listen to my mama when I go home. So, that's me right there. And, nah, I'm just playing. That's really not me, y'all. I never went there. No, it ain't me. Y'all probably like, dang, bro, you really was bad. Nah, that was not me at all. So that wasn't me. But I want to share with y'all about somebody in the Bible by the name of Saul, but people know him more as Paul. If you don't know who Saul is, Saul was a person who was going around persecuting Christians, killing them. So if you have your Bibles, let's look at go to Acts 8, and we're going to start from verse 3. It says, as Saul, he made a havoc of the church, entering every house and dragging off men and women, committing them to prison. So right here, Paul hates Christians. Like, one is like, dang, why you hate people that love Jesus and all this other good stuff? Paul hates Christians, and he gets a thing to order from the judge to go in houses and drag men and women out their house who believe in Jesus, worship Jesus, and he wants to throw them in prison, and he wants to kill them. He has the right to do this. He has a deed and a document to do this. So Saul is making his way on down to kill people. Like, oh, I'm about to get all these Christians right here. They're looking at him acting a fool out here worshiping this. Jesus says this guy is a savior. And I don't think Paul understands. It brings me to my first point. You're not beyond repair. Saul's job was to kill the Christians, but in the midst of Saul wanting to do that, Jesus like, I don't think he knows like who's dealing with. God's like, I don't think this man knows who he's dealing with. Saul is walking down. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep saying Paul. Everybody knows him as Paul though, but Saul is walking, and in the midst of Saul walking, he falls down to his face. A light from heaven, just like these bright lights right here that's got me up here sweating. He falls down, and he falls down to his face. And as Paul falls down to his face, he gets something. He hears somebody going, Paul. Jesus probably didn't sound like that. Paul. What is that? Paul. Or Saul, whatever you want to call it. Saul. And he's like, who is this? Who is calling my name right now? I don't know who this man is calling my name. And he says, Paul, he said, Saul, he said, why are you persecuting me? He said, who are you, Lord? Then the Lord said, I'm Jesus, whom you are persecuting. It is hard for you to kick against goads. So he trembling and astonished said, Lord, what do you want me to do? In the mix of this, Paul has a real encounter with Jesus right here. And he doesn't know what this means. But I think sometimes when we go through something like this, I think Saul failed to realize that he got in Jesus' presence, and he didn't even realize it, because it was more of a, when people come to Jesus, they get like a sweet, gushy feeling inside of them. But Jesus hit him in the pain, the pit of his stomach. He didn't know all things fell upon him. It was like, what is this heaviness that I'm feeling, that I feel like I gotta change my life? I don't feel right. And I could testify to that. Me growing up, yes, I came here to church. I've said this before. I came here to church, and I still wasn't, I didn't have that real moment with Jesus. I knew who Jesus was. I heard people talk about Jesus, but I didn't know who Jesus was. But it took for me to have a moment with Jesus. So Paul is on the ground, and he is blind at this point. So God is like, he's blind, he's sitting on the ground, and he's face flat. So as Saul's laying there on the ground, here comes a man named Ananias. Jesus speaks to Ananias and calls him out. And right here in verse 10, it says, now there was a certain disciple named in Damascus named Ananias. And to him the Lord said in a vision, Ananias, and he said, here I am, Lord. Now Ananias knew who Jesus was, so he presents this to Ananias and says, I need you to go lay hands on a guy named Saul. I need you to go to talk to him. I need you to go lay hands on him. And Ananias knew about Saul. He was like, hold up, player. Wait a minute. Hold on, Jesus. I hear what you're saying right now. Do you not know this man is killing people right now? People who believe in you, like, you want me to go do this? And he's saying, no, go do as I say, because he is a chosen vessel just like you are. I want you to go do what I'm telling you to do, because I can use him just as much as I can use you. So he takes upon himself, and he's like, I'm going to lay hands on this man. I don't want to do this. So he goes and lays hands on Saul. He finds Saul laying there. And Saul, must I remind you, Saul is blind now. He's been blind for about 3 days without food or water. And speaking of that, I'm going to take a water sip real quick because my mouth is dry. So, yeah, I've been trying to get better about this, taking a sip of water. So, Shaba. So, yeah, Hannah, are you happy now? Yeah, look at her smiling over there. But so he goes up to Saul, and he finds Saul, and he says to Saul, he says, go to him, lay hands on him. So he lays hands on Saul, and his eyes begin to see. There's something from his eyes feel like scales down to the ground. And now Saul has a new vision. He knows who Jesus is. He has a real encounter with God. And it's funny. I look back, and it says, why are you persecuting me? When Jesus asked him this, Saul in reality thought he was doing God a favor, but in reality, it was pointless, a pointless thing. As the heavenly light overwhelmed him, Saul was confronted by the nature of his crime, and he was not persecuting anybody. He was persecuting God, whether he knew it or not. He was persecuting God by doing this awful thing, by killing Christians and killing them, saying that, Jesus isn't real and all this stuff. He wanted to kill them. So once he was delivered from this, Ananias and him, he begins to bring people along with him, the people who Saul was against. Now Saul is walking with these people. So that brings me to that. You are a new creation. You are a new creation in God's eyes. Whether no matter what you have done or what you have said or anything, and you may not have been living in the right direction. You may not know where you were going at times, and you may thought you were doing God a favor by saying, hey, I'm gonna live my life this way. This is fine, but I still go to church, but I'm still gonna go out here and party, and I'm still gonna go do this, but I'm still gonna come to church. No. You still are God's creation, but you gotta have that real encounter with God, though. Some of you guys get right here in this spot right here where it's like no, it's okay what I'm doing right now. I'm still fine. I'm still doing good. I'm still coming. No, that's not a real encounter with Jesus. Let me tell you who Jesus is. I can remember 2016 Forward Conference. How many know what Forward Conference is coming up? Yeah, 2016 Forward Conference. I remember I will live my life repeatedly. I'll go out, I graduated high school, I will go out, run out, do this and that, hang out with a buddy here, in there. Forward Conference come around. Everybody knows Forward Conference is so hype. It's so energetic. We have this thing called tribe leaders that we used to do. So, yeah, we used to have tribe leaders, and I would come around every year. I'll come around. God start coming to youth on Wednesday nights. Hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. I'm like, do y'all still need tribe leaders? I want to still help out with this thing. I want to be able to get hype with the kids and all that kind of stuff. And I will come to Forward Conference from literally 2014 all the way up to 2016, come for that 3-day weekend and go right back out and do the same thing. Soon Sunday was over, Monday I'm back at it again from 180 days, whatever you want to say, living my life however I want to live it. But 2016, something else happened though that year. And I'll never forget sitting there in the arena, pastor's out on stage preaching a message. You know, pastor gets up, oh God, I believe in a generation. We're fighting for our kids, family. You know how pastor gets. He's like, stop living what the world wants you to live like. Live for Jesus. He's saying all that. And I'm like sitting there, something hits me. And I'm like, I ain't feeling well. My arm getting all cold. And I know the arena's cold now. They got the air on like 18, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, this ain't no normal feeling right here. I was like, I'm shaking right now. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? What's going on with me? I can't understand this feeling I'm having. But something got in the pit of my stomach, and I was like, I feel weird. I don't wanna, I was like, I can't do this. Leave the conference, and I'm like, see, Monday comes around, and I see alcohol. My friends are doing this, or they're doing drugs, and I'm like, I don't want to do anymore. I was like, I just don't feel right doing it no more. And I said, I don't know why I don't feel all right, but I'm like, and it's like Jesus sitting there kicking me. Do you not know what I just did? Do you not know what I just did? Are you stupid? I'm like, no, I'm not stupid. And I look at my friends. I was like, I was like, bro, I can't do this no more. I can't do this partying, drinking, and this and that. And got one friend looks at me and goes, bro, let me tell you something. You really think a 3-day conference is gonna change you over the weekend? And I'm like, huh? I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know, yeah. And they were like, well, you always say that, and you go right back to the same thing, because they already had the image of previous Jacob Thomas, but they didn't know I had just sat there and had a real encounter with a new Jacob Thomas. So, never forget, I was like, well, shoot, I'm gonna show them that I changed my life around for sure. They ain't gonna tell me what I'm done. And I had one friend say to me, he was like, you know, he always snorts when he like talks, before he's about to say something, he goes, he's like, bruh, let me tell you something. He was like, don't talk about it, just do it. If you're gonna change, just do it. As in, if you cut us off, you cut us off. Go ahead and do what you gotta do. And I'm like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to prove them wrong. And I'm like, God, how am I gonna do this journey right here? I wanna show them how to change, but I don't even know where to turn. Yes, I met some people at Ford. I met some people here and there that I encountered with, but I was like, God, I need someone to help me on this journey. And just like Ananias helped Saul with this, God brought a friend to me, a guy, I don't know if you guys know Mancini, but Mancini Morales. Mancini came to me, hey man, what's up, dude? You wanna come with me? We're gonna go see this guy named Bryce. He plays drums for this group called Color Negative. You should come. I was like, all right. I was like, cool. I was like, man, I hope this is like cool. This ain't my kind of music. And you know, I go with them and they're like all rocking out. I'm all off beat. I'm like, usually it's the white people off beat, but I'm sitting here nodding. I'm bobbing. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, God. I was like, this is me trying to make an effort to change, and I'm sitting here dancing to some music. I don't even know. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, good Lord. But I'm like, God, I'm trying. I was like, I'm trying to be that new creation that you called me to be. And I'm sorry, y'all, I'm just telling my story. Can I just tell my story right now? Y'all fine with that? All right, cool. So Mancini, continues to invite me, and I look around, I'm like, Mancini's pretty cool. I said, he's, including me in things. I was like, cool. I was like, I'm showing my other friends that, I'm doing something different with my life. Mancini was like, yeah, so I'm about to go back to school out here to California. I'm like, God dang it. I was like, for real? I was like, you really got to leave? He was like, yeah, man, like, I got 1 more year of school left. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'm like, well, God, I had this encounter with Jesus, and I was like, you placed me here for a reason. I said, Mancini came in my life for a reason. I was like, why is this, don't leave me now. Like, we right here. And the mix of it, like I said, Free Chapel College was coming up. I'm like, I ain't doing that Free Chapel College thing. I was like, that does not sound fun at all. Of course, who signs me up for Free Chapel College? Jackie Thomas. If y'all don't know who Jackie Thomas is, that is my mother. My mother, Jackie Thomas. I love that woman to death. She signs me up for Free Chapel College. And must I remind you, someone at the church had told me about it, a guy named Pastor Blake. He told me about Free Chapel College, and I didn't want to hear what he had to say. I was just like, he's like, buddy, I think it will really change your life if you do this college. It will bring a lot of new environment for you. Hey, buddy, we love you here. I was like, yeah. So I was like, I might think about it. And it's funny, though, because prior to that, the floor conference, he was telling me about it then. I still wasn't listening. But make a long story short, my mom, she was like, Jacob, yeah, I signed you up for that Free Chapel College thing, by the way. I'm like, why did you do that? I was like, I'm not going there. I was like, don't do that. And she was like, I filled out majority of the application. All you got to do is fill out the testimony part. I'm like, man, I'm not doing this. So all of a sudden, Free Chapel College is here, and I walk through this door at Free Chapel College, and I'm like, am I going to know anybody here? Who's going to be here? I see some faces I know, so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I know some people. Then I started meeting some friends, and I started, I was like, okay, I'm meeting people. And I sign up. We have, different, streams that you can, sign up for here. And one's pastoral, one's, media. You can learn the cameras and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to do that. I was like, I want to do this. Because I want to go to school for mass communication. I want to be on the radio. I want to be that guy. I want to be like, yo, this is Jacob Thomas coming live from V103, the People Station. This is the Steve Harvey Morning Show coming live. I want to do that right there. I want to be like, hey, we out here at Six Flags. We got some tickets for you. I want to do all that. So I was like, well, maybe this can kind of stir in that feel for me or something. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm up there in the class. I got this dinosaur laptop that's moving extra slow. It's literally moving like this, buffering still. I was like, oh my gosh. I got the teacher there. He's sitting there. He was like, yeah, dude, you need to see about getting a new computer. This thing is moving too slow. I'm colorblind, so I can't even color grade the videos. I'm over there struggling, and they're like, this dude is taking forever. And I'm like, I'm sitting here in this college. I'm like, Jesus, there is a purpose for you. You freed me from this. There is a purpose for me to be here. And I still wasn't understanding it, though. I was still questioning Jesus. I'm like, you saved me, but I'm still going to question you because you got me looking crazy in this class right now. So one day, I'm walking by the hall. I'm coming across the arena. I'm walking by a guy named Brock Bird. If you don't know him, yeah. Brock Bird, I'm walking by. He was like, hey, what's up, man? I was like, hey. He's like, hey, wait, you should come over here with me one day to youth. And I was like, maybe. I was like, I might come over here one day to youth. I was like, if I'm not doing cameras on Wednesday nights, I'll come over here. And he says to me, he was like, oh, okay, well, I'm talking about you should switch next semester and come over here and volunteer. I was like, maybe. I was like, we'll see. And he was like, I think you'll 1,000% love it, dude. You'll love it. It's awesome. Students are fun and all. I was like, all right. So I was like, maybe. So one day I came over here on a Wednesday night, volunteered, whatever, and I'm still sitting there, and I'm just like, I was like, yeah, this is nice. I was like, man, feels good. I was like, seeing all the kids again. It takes me back to my old days right here. I was like, I like this. But it ain't registered in my head. Jesus is about to make a whole nother shift in my life. He's about to show me my real purpose. And I'm telling y'all that you guys are all called for a purpose. The moments that you have, the dark moments that you have, and you feel like you've done so wrong, no, God's about to take that and turn this into a purpose. So my purpose right here, I'm getting to it right here. The purpose was I'm with Pastor Blake, the dean of the college, and we're driving down. He's going to preach somewhere, and we're driving down to Georgia's southern area, something like that. And on the way back, his wife was like, Jacob, what do you want to do in life? What is something they're very intimate, and they're like, what do you want to do in life? I was like, I want to be on the radio, and that's what I really want to do, and I just feel God calling me to that. And she was like, I don't know. I just feel God's calling you with youth kids. I feel like he's calling you to pastor and preach. I'm like, oh no. I was like, she don't know me. I don't like getting up here. This is not me. I don't like doing this. And she's like, and, he's like, you're 100% right, babe. Yeah, I feel God calling you to that. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, I was like, maybe I'll think about it. Again, I'm still thinking about it. Next day, I get to church. Pastor's preaching some message. I probably wasn't paying attention. Sorry to say that. I was outside doing something. I was serving outside. I was serving for the Lord. So I get out there, and after service, I get a call from my mom. She's at church, and she's like, Jacob, where are you at? I was like, I'm out here in front. She was like, well, stay out there. I got to tell you something. I'm like, oh, okay. And somebody, my mom, she's up in age, so like she walks like Michael Jordan kind of. So she's like, she's like, Jacob, I don't know why, but I keep getting this feeling. I keep seeing this image of you when you was a little boy wanting to be just like T.D. Jakes for some reason. When you used to go grab your Bible and your godfather would come over and you were like, let me preach something to you. So I keep getting this image of you wanting to be like T.D. Jakes. I was like, I said, it went from, I used to want to be, get ready, but I don't want, no, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I was like, no. And the Lord was like, Jesus like, I don't put 3 confirmations dead in your face. I put Brock, I put Laura, and I put your mother. Now, it ain't gonna get no better than this one right here. I'm like, Jesus, you called me here. You called me here. So next day I go to Pastor Blake. I was like, hey, Pastor Blake, I want to switch over. I want to come over to pastoral. I want to do this, and that. I'm like, okay, cool. Come over. I switch over to youth. In the mix of that, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what is this journey going to take me on? What is it going to show me? And let me tell you, the journey is not easy sometimes. When you find that moment with Jesus and you get that created, when God shows you his purpose that he has for your life, it's not easy. There are going to be trials. So I'm not going to say everything's always going to be easy. But Jesus, if he gets you in a certain spot and you have that encounter with him, you better know he's going to take care of you on the rest of the way. So don't doubt any moments that you're having with God or anything like that with Jesus. If he's placed you here and he's gave you a new calling, a new purpose, and let you know that you're created for something good, he's gonna have you. I'm talking about everything try to hit me every direction on this journey. From getting in trouble to not having money for tuition here at the school. I'm talking about I was ready to leave this school. I was like, I can't even afford to come to college. I was like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, I'm trying to work and I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to help mom out. I was like, this is not meant to be. Every single time when I was ready to cave it back in and just go back to my old ways and go, Jesus, you ain't real, because look what you're doing to me right now. He had to keep coming back. I got to keep showing this dude. I'm sitting here crying like, I ain't got no money for my school. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Kid you not, the same day I'm crying, Pastor Blake comes to me, your tuition's been covered for, somebody paid for it. I can't tell you who, but it's been paid for. I'm like, this ain't nothing but you, Jesus. And I wanna close as the band comes up. I wanna close with this. If you have not had a real encounter with Jesus, and you're like, well, I messed up too much. I've done so many bad things in my life. I've questioned Jesus so many times. I've done wrong. I did wrong yesterday. I did wrong just an hour before I got here. Jesus still wants to use you as a chosen vessel so he can forgive you. He died on the cross for this. He died for you to live free indeed. Free indeed as in, hey, I messed up, Jesus, but I'm coming to you asking you for forgiveness so you can pick yourself up and keep walking with it and keep walking like, God, I know, Jesus, there's something better for me. There's something better for me. Oh, I stumbled today, but Jesus, there's something greater. Pick yourself back up. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to hold you like a father. I'm still going to love you like a mother. He can do anything for you. But you got to make that first step to walk with him. To say, lay it here at the altar to God. Lay it here at the altar to Jesus. And know that you are forgiven for any sins that you've done. So, With every head bow and every eye closed, I want you to stand to your feet as well. I want to share one more story about someone before I do this altar call, just to show you how real Jesus is. Yes, I shared my story, but I want to share about a guy named Tukey Williams. You're probably like, who the heck is Tukey? Tukey Williams was a guy from the 70s. This is Tukey. That's Tukey. You hear Tukey, you think like, oh man, this man ain't nothing like, no, that's a super thug right there. Well, it ain't Superman, that's a super thug right there. Tukey Williams was a guy, he created the gang Crips. He started up a gang called Crips. Some of y'all probably heard from it like, oh yeah, I used to be a Crip. No, y'all ain't been no Crip. This is the real deal, like right here. And this guy was almost just like a Saul. He killed people, did bad things. He gets thrown in prison though. And in the mix of him being thrown in prison, I look at him and I'm like, good God Almighty. I was like, I know no one was messing with him in prison. Like, there's no way in heck. But in the mix of Tukey being in prison, I believe, I couldn't find anything, but I believe he had a real encounter with Jesus while he was in prison. And I think because Tukey didn't know his calling and his purpose that he had, that God had for him, it took just for somebody, he needed Ananias in his life to sit there and say, you are healed, you're anointed, you're blessed. He didn't know, but I think he had an encounter with Jesus sitting in prison, because in the mix of him sitting in prison, he had a life change. Tukey, before he wound up passing away, before he died, he won a Nobel Peace Prize for writing children's books. You have it up there. He wrote children's books to turn kids away from gang violence and all. Here's a man who started gang killing people, turned his whole life around by writing children's books. And I think it came from having a real encounter with God. If God can change Tukey, I know he can change all of us in here. So with every head bowed and every eye closed, well, if you say to yourself, hey, I backslid, I know I haven't done right, and I know I live crazy and foolishness, but I want to have a real encounter with Jesus so I can know that Jesus has me and he's going to take care of me because he forgives me. He lets me live a free life that's free indeed. If you sit there and say that's you, why don't you just go ahead and raise your hand? You don't have to raise it high. You can raise it low. If you say that's you, I see that hand back there. I see your hand. I see your hand back there. I see that hand over there. And you want to be set free from that today. Well, it's going to start by you making a bold step by coming down here to the altar. So I'm going to count down to 3. And when I count down to 3, you could come down here. They're going to sing this song, Here I Am. And here I am as in, I want y'all to be like Ananias and say, here I am, Lord. Use me for whatever you want to do with me. Forgive me of my sins. This is where you lay it all down at so you can live on a free life. Walk with Jesus.